If we go back to 2023, we saw the big institutions starting to enter this space in a large way. And even towards the end of 2022, we saw Larry Fink from BlackRock talking about crypto and talking about how, they might be looking into tokenization. They were even addressing tokenization then. But the big narrative around 2023 was that you need to focus on Bitcoin. Everything was talking about Bitcoin. Everyone thought the institutions were going to go all in on Bitcoin. They were going to buy up all the supply and push the price to, unforeseen, prices and things like that. So as we really look at what's been going on in the last couple months, that has all changed. In fact, one big player, Franklin Templeton, has already given us everything that we need to know about what we should actually be paying attention to. And in this video, I really want to address that and talk about some of these projects, which of course you probably already see in the title: XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, etc. So let's actually talk about this. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. So this originally got published back in December of 2023. It did get updated on April of this year, but this was Jenny Johnson from Franklin Templeton and really kind of addressing how, they're now looking into blockchain in a big way. They're trying to learn about blockchain. They want to embrace it. They want to, be at the forefront of this. But what's interesting about this is Franklin Templeton chose Stellar. They chose Stellar. They utilized Stellar, which is huge, especially for XLM. And it's funny because what they were talking about was public blockchains. If we actually go over here, right, she just said back in May of this year, ETFs and mutual funds are all going to be on blockchain, says Franklin Templeton CEO. And it's interesting because, again, everyone still is focused on, Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it's just funny because the focus has shifted, especially from the institutional side, but it feels as though a lot of these big influencers around the Bitcoin side of things are still trying to push the only Bitcoin narrative. I hate to break it to people, but Bitcoin is not going to make you rich. It's just not. Anyone that was going to get rich off of Bitcoin already got rich off of it. Unless you're already extremely wealthy, Bitcoin's going to do nothing for you. But if we think about what we should be focused on, the next big wave is going to be these public blockchains that these institutions are starting to embrace. Here we actually have, and this goes back to May of this year, Jenny Johnson, CEO of Franklin Templeton, said it is important that the firm's tokenized money market fund runs on a public rather than a private blockchain, even though the fund's assets were overtaken by BlackRock's rival fund. So even then, right, we now know that public blockchains are the key. Private blockchains are not going to be the thing for the future. I think that's important because unlike a lot of public companies, we really do think generationally. When I looked at blockchain, I said, this is going to be transformational and we better make sure that we understand it. And she does understand it. They understand what's happening around this space, especially when it comes to the technology. But it's all about the public blockchains. Private blockchains are not going to be successful like a lot of these big players have pushed for years. Like, for an example, Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan, he's always said, we already utilize blockchain. We utilize the private Ethereum technology for Onyx. Guys, that's just not cutting it. It's closed garden. Like, these are all walled gardens, which are closed off. They're, very hard to connect to. Public blockchains are the future. A lot of these institutional players like Franklin Templeton CEO is already telling us this. But also remember what she told us back in October of 2023. And it was true then, but it's very true today. Like, this is the biggest thing that I can tell you guys right now to do. Ignore Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the greatest distraction from the greatest disruption that is coming to financial services. This is Franklin Templeton President and CEO, Jenny Johnson.
Bitcoin is the greatest distraction from the greatest disruption that is coming to financial services. I think AI is probably the other big disruption there, but and there's so much noise around a lot of things like FTX and others. But if you bring the technology down to its core value, it does three things. One is it allows a payment mechanism. Number two, it allows smart contracts to be programmed into the token. And three, because it's a general ledger, it has a source of truth. So whoever has that token, all rights in that token are granted to that person. So if I sell it to Frank, I don't have to go through a third party to do it. Frank gets it, and Frank gets all the rights. So my favorite example is Rihanna, who came out with, right before the Super Bowl, and I know she's just testing the market in this, 300 NFTs, each one worth 0.00033% royalties on one of her biggest songs. Well, why can she do that? She can do it because when Spotify plays a Rihanna song, it can capture, the smart contract executes and says, I owe royalties here. And so nobody has to be involved in it. And it can take the fractional payment and go to, because Frank's a big Rihanna fan, so it goes to his account, and he owns a couple of those. And he's paid, right? So now think about any way in which you have revenue streams or royalty streams that you can now start to fractionalize that or democratize that, and think about how that is an uncorrelated asset to all the traditional assets. So other examples is, I think that athletes are going to, they'll sign a big contract, they'll say to their fans, I'm going to sell off, tokens worth 10% of my future revenue stream. I'm going to, 100,000 tokens, and boom, the fans are going to probably pay a premium for it. So it will be a way, and if you think about it, it's just securitization done on steroids. And it's merely that this technology is enabling it, and it's also enabling other very interesting companies that will disrupt some of the traditional business models that we have today.
Now, as we do really kind of hear this, one thing comes to mind, especially why she is saying, Bitcoin is the greatest distraction. It's because Bitcoin is not capable of providing the tech stack that is required for the tokenization of essentially everything. Now, as we do think about that, even today, almost all of these utility projects like HBAR, XLM, IOTA, XRP, Algo, ADA. I mean, there's so many of them that I can list on this top 100 list that have outperformed Bitcoin in both 2023 and 2024. And what is crazy to me is that we still hear these talks about how Bitcoin will never be dethroned. We have yet to actually touch a utility cycle. We have yet to even achieve regulations. So as we really think about what's happening for this entire space, institutions are starting to embrace the public blockchains. The institutions are here, they're building. They are utilizing the tech, they are learning the tech. What does this tell you about the future of this tech? It's that this technology is going to power almost everything around the financial industry. But what's crazier is that a lot of people think that it stops there. Right now, there is a ton of opportunities for blockchain technology to be adopted in around many of these global industries. For an example, here we have a few: supply chain management, sports and esports, retail, fashion and luxury, real estate, media and entertainment, law, insurance, healthcare and life sciences, government and public sector, global trade and commerce, finance, energy and sustainability, digital identity, DeFi, CBDCs, capital markets. And these are just, scratching the surface. It's going to affect everything: gaming, social media, the way that content creators are paid. I mean, I don't think people realize just how significant this tech is going to be in the next year, 2 years, 3, 4, 5. When we look at what the OMFIF put out back in September, they said blockchain adoption is gathering steam. And yes, it's because as we really look at what's happening, it's been 16 years since the Bitcoin white paper has been released. And so far, institutional focus, institutional demand, and institutional adoption has not just increased, it has absolutely exploded over the last 2 years. And as we do look at tokenization, it is one of the most important use cases that you can focus on in this space, not just because of the players telling you to focus on it, but because of how much money out there will be affected by tokenization. And I've always put a spotlight on that. Now, as we also think about that, okay, who is the OMFIF that's telling us that, yeah, this technology is about to achieve full-scale adoption in the institutional side of the world? Well, they have major players around the entire world And global public investors with investable assets of $43 trillion are at the heart of this network. So if they're talking about blockchain in such a positive way, imagine how much money they are throwing towards this space. And by the way, as this space gets even more and more legitimized, the market cap grows significantly because people feel more comfortable throwing money into this space. Right now, a lot of people are still scared to even touch crypto because they hear the word and they think immediately, isn't that utilized for, criminals and illegal activities and illicit finance? Because that's all these politicians have talked about for the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So as we think about what's happening here, the entire market is shifting. We are about to witness a very significant change, especially when you look at the advisors list of the OMFIF. These are major banks, asset management companies, central banks. The World Bank is on here as well. The IMF is on here as well. Here's monetary policy. I mean, look at the list of individuals and where they come from, their background, that are looking at these technologies today and saying, yes, this is the future. While when we really look at the retail market, it's funny because the retail market is still in denial of this. They don't think that this is actually happening. Whether or not, you want to believe it, it's okay. When you look at what's happening with some of these big players like Swift that are pushing, pilot phases with players like Chainlink, which if you guys know Chainlink is a solid player in this space as well. In fact, Chainlink is actually enabling the bridge between existing payment systems and also even, DLT and crypto-based payment systems. Also, Quant's a big player there. Axeler is also a big player, but we have Swift, UBS Asset Management, and Chainlink successfully complete innovative pilot to bridge tokenized assets with existing payment systems. This happened back in the beginning of November. And if we're thinking about this, I don't think people realize that the shift is already here. We're already starting to see the big moves happening globally. I mean, if somebody asked me, hey, Nick, do you actually think that crypto is going to be the future? I tell them, listen, I don't just think that it's going to be the future. I think, as we really take a step back, crypto is already here, taking over in such a big way. It's going to be everything around us. Everything that we see, everything that we do is going to incorporate some sort of, crypto-based process that is utilizing blockchain or DLT. But I also point them to the direction of Swift or the DTCC or all these big players that are already embracing the tech because, I'm just a retail investor. I'm just somebody here, sharing with you guys the news and the information that's coming out around the space. But when I truly show them what these big players are doing and who Swift actually is, or, how the DTCC, who settles $3 quadrillion in securities transactions per year, and how they're embracing DLT and how they want to utilize DLT as well, all of a sudden they finally see it. They're like, oh, wow, this actually is becoming the future. And yes, it is. Everything around us will be tokenized. Houses will be tokenized on chain. Cars will be tokenized on chain. Insurance will be tokenized on chain. Identities will be tokenized on chain. This is all happening, and it's through some of these big public blockchain technologies like Hedera, like Stellar, like XRP, like Algorand. People need to wake up now because, it's already happening, and it's not going to be centered around Bitcoin. Everyone is still stuck on the Bitcoin train. It's not about Bitcoin. I get it. We hear crypto, immediately everyone's saying Bitcoin because it's the number one asset. But what happens when it's no longer the number one project in the space and it's not the driver behind these cycles? I do question what's going to happen then. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.